Welcome to Raptor U7 Ranch and Wellness Center. Come on up. Let's go. I've been lucky enough to be on this farm for 5 years and doing this work for 5 years. I want to show you a little bit, talk a little bit about what I do. So come on, let's catch a horse. So I've been doing this work for about 5 years. I am a certified equine gestalt coach, and I also am a registered social worker, trained as a mental health therapist, now specializing in this intervention. But I wasn't always doing this work. However, horses have always called to me. I remember as a young girl, about 12, 13, and I had this horse named Zeke. And Zeke was it's called an appendix quarter horse. So a long, tall, thoroughbred looking horse. He looked like a racehorse. And I was 12, 13, going through all those regular kind of lifetime struggles around that age, which, common, but also incredibly difficult to navigate those identity things. Who am I? I don't need my parents. I can handle this. I need my parents. All that kind of stuff. Come on out. Sally! Come on. We're a two-legged and four-legged team here, so gotta keep the team together sometimes. Anyways, Zeke. I remember at that time I was in high school rodeo, so I would train every day after I got home from school. And I remember throwing my saddle on this horse, tightening up the cinch, and I would put his bridle on, but before I could get on, he would always do this thing to me. He would turn his head around and stick it between me and the stirrup, essentially blocking me from getting on his back. And I remember thinking, this horse is so cute. He wants me to hug him. Of course, what horse wouldn't want a human to hug them? So I would wrap my arms around his ginormous head. My breathing would slow. And I'd just hold this horse. I'd notice the smell of dirt and horse. And I don't know if it was seconds or minutes, but eventually he would sigh, blink, maybe lick his lips, put his head back, climb on his back, and off we'd go. And I often wonder what he was doing. What was that horse doing at that time? Was he perhaps he was, I don't know, balancing my energy. In the psychology world, we call it regulating emotions. Perhaps that was happening. Maybe he was, I don't know what he was doing. But I do remember that feeling, and I will always remember that feeling. Anyways, and I often wonder those rides where I didn't take the time to do that. It was everything I had in my little 12-year-old body to push his head out of the way, climb up on his back and go. And I often wonder if those were the rides where we struggled more, or those were the rides where I'd end up in tears. I don't know. Anyways, no doubt that horse was doing something, and now, looking back a couple of years later, like 2 or 20, I don't know. 20? 20. Wow. Looking back like 20 plus years later, no doubt he was doing something very important. No doubt he was trying to help me with something. So that happened. I continued to go through high school, all that kind of stuff, went to college, thought I didn't like people. So I was like, hey, I'm going to be a biologist. Love animals, love nature. I'm going to sit in the mountains and study grasses. Sounds great. Don't have to deal with people. I lasted 1 semester, quickly switched into social work. I knew that social work was about helping people, doing important things, and turns out I actually really like people. But that experience with Zeke continued to follow me. I remember around the same time thinking, I wonder the difference horses would make in people's lives who didn't live with them every day. I had the great fortune of being able to grow up on a farm with them. And so that question continued to stay with me. I ended up in social work school, continued on, still asking that question, what about horses? What about horses? Continued on. One day, I came across this program called Touched by a Horse and was exposed to some of the work that they do. And really quickly decided that this was the program I had been looking for my whole life. By that point, I had my master's degree. I was working in clinical mental health. I was seeing people in a mental health office every day. I had worked in an inpatient psychiatric unit for adults. I had done all these things. I was taking yoga classes. I was, learning about self-development, all this stuff, and fascinated with horse psychology. I still had my horses and was so interested in what they were doing. And when I found this program, it met me in all those different areas. The yoga class stuff, what I was seeing clinically, what I knew about human nature and relationships, and also what I didn't know about business. So I started in this 2-year certification program thinking, I'll pay my money, learn the things, and then I will be able to do this work. Something happened that I did not anticipate during that time. I look at my life and often think, there was life before that program and life after that program. You see, as a social worker, I had trained and learned all the things and was super smart at all the social work and clinical things. I worked in a part of a prenatal clinic with expecting moms and worked with them on social situations, all that kind of stuff. And I read the books and I went to the trainings and I did the workshops. I was so passionate about it and knew all the things. But it turns out what you know about something in your head can sometimes be a long way away from your heart. And when I became pregnant for the first time, and it wasn't until I was holding that baby, taking that baby home, that I realized just how much I didn't know, and how the difference between knowing it in your head and knowing it in your heart, being able to embody the learning or the experiences as opposed to just knowing it in this brain of ours. And so the beautiful thing, I struggled that first year. And I worked so hard to be well. I worked so hard. I remember doing assessments of myself all the time because I knew what they were. I knew what people were going to ask me. So I would do these assessments. And it would always come up like, no, I'm good enough. I don't need to see somebody. I'm good. I'm okay. I don't need to see anybody. And I don't know if that's internalized stigma. I don't know what that is, but I was always not bad enough. The saving grace was I was taking this program. And part of this program, part of Gestalt, is that it's not about knowing it all in your brain. It's very much an embodied learning experience, an embodied education, by walking through it yourself and walking through it with other people, learning to do it by doing it. And so part of that program was you have to do your own work. You have to. I didn't think I had a lot of work to do because I don't have significant trauma history. I don't have some of the things we would call like big T's or big traumas in my life. But I had to do my own work. To get that piece of paper, I had to do my own work. And so I started. And thank goodness I had this training program, the Touched by a Horse program, at that time, because it started me on a path of working on myself and the difference between embodying the education and knowledge versus knowing it in your brain. And Gestalt is actually very much a way of being. So you don't have to be a therapist, you don't have to be super or educated and a facilitator of healing to be a gestaltist. You can be a person who lives in the moment and moves through things as they come up. Anyways, I'm so passionate about this stuff, you obviously can see. But the truth is, horses really changed my life. They walked me through a lot of things. So grateful to be doing this work with them now. Let's go catch one. I feel like I'm like catching a fish or catching a dragon. I don't know which one I'm going to catch, but we're going to catch one. So horses don't live, as humans we can get lost in our thoughts. Horses don't live there. They live in the present moment, the here and now. Their brains are structured differently. They don't have the capacity to think like we do. So it's very much about what they sense in the moment, what they're picking up on. And they don't question it like humans. They're not like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. This is so rude. I'm walking away from the human. Oh my gosh, and she's making a movie? How embarrassing. I'm gonna make her look silly. They don't care about that. They're like, well, for whatever reason, I'm not digging it today. So I might have to chase some of these guys down. We'll see. One of the things that horses teach us is to move through things, to move through feelings, to move through when something happens. So you can see what just happened. Tequila, he's the horse who came up and sniffed me and then walked away. He came up, checked it out, and for whatever reason, he's like, nah, not today or not right now. And he turned and walked away. He moved through that. And I don't know if it's a feeling. I don't think that horses have feelings the way we do as humans. But whatever that energy was, where he was like, no, not today, just moved through it. And what's beautiful in this work is that horses help us to move through things. So many times in our life, things get stuck. For example, if I'm at the grocery store, I'm having a rough day, and I go to pay, or somebody is in front of me and I'm in a hurry, and they are asking the teller to find something for them, or they need a price check, or they don't have enough money, and I'm really rattled by it. It's not okay for me to snap, lose it, freak out, right? It's not okay because it's not socially acceptable, it's not appropriate. There are so many reasons why it's not okay to move through things. And part of it is our sophistication as humans, to be able to try to think first is what we're socialized to do. Which is good, it's beautiful, it's adaptive. However, the same cascade of hormones that happens in my body to cause a fight or flight feeling or attention is happening in their body. But they're allowed to move through it. Something scares them, they jump up and run away. And you'll see them run, and they'll run until the leader stops and assesses, and if the leader decides, guys, we're totally safe, it was a plastic bag, there's those kind of two options. Or they'll say, nope, still gonna die, and if that's true, they're gonna keep running and they're gonna keep going until they decide that it's safe, or until they've moved through this whole cycle of energy, we call it, in Gestalt. My mentor Melissa Pierce taught me everything I know about Gestalt, and I continue to learn about it, but it's so fascinating how it's just so simple. It goes through this cycle of energy. And as humans, the same things happen inside of us, but we don't, because it's not appropriate to freak out at the grocery store. Maybe it's too scary, we can't say the words, or maybe we're too young, we don't have the words to say, or for whatever reason, we can't go through it. It's not an appropriate time, not okay to tell your boss what you really think because you need the job, I don't know. So it stops, which is good. The problem is if we don't find safe spaces to move those things through, move the unsaid things, move the unfelt feelings, move the locked up stuff through. Physically move through those stress hormones. We need to move it through, and that's what's so beautiful about this work, is that horses will find wherever we're stuck on that kind of cycle of energy, combined with a trained facilitator, the equine and human team work to move those things through, create safety to do that. And I don't know about you, but I love horses and being out on a farm. For some people, that is easier or safer than being in an office, and I do both work. I do office therapy as well as in the barn, and incredible opportunities for healing and growth in both places. It's not about one is better than the other, but what's important is finding the right fit for you, and for some people this is the right fit. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do to try to catch one of these guys. Maybe the energy saying I'm going to catch one of these guys isn't the right thing. I need to be in my body. So I'm going to feel my feet on the ground. Drop my shoulders. Relax my core. Notice anywhere in my body I'm feeling something. So I'm feeling a little bit anxious right here because I want to look like I got this together and just, these horses will join up with me and away we go and it's going to be beautiful. But they're not really circus animals, so it might not look like that. What I truly want is connection. Truly. And what I don't want is to put onto a horse or another person what's actually happening for me. So I'm just going to continue to take a couple breaths. Feel the wind on my face, the coolness of the air. Acknowledge that kind of fear, worry, anxiety. With the exhale, let it fall out my fingertips. Feel that feeling of connection, what I want, what I'm seeking. Notice where I feel that in my body. Interesting, same spot. Didn't think about that. But it feels bigger, feels more open than that tight worry. Feels more open. So naturally my shoulders go back, chest opens. Maybe that goes back to people pleasing. I don't know, trying to impress people. It feels true. Feel that feeling of connection go up to my face. I can feel it, the corners of my mouth come up, my cheeks smile almost. The desire for connection, feel it go down through my hips, all the way down through my feet. Let's go. Big guy. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me here at the ranch today. This is my friend Boone. So grateful to have him as part of our team. Not supposed to do that. Thanks so much for joining us.